KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Good morning and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm David Taffet and I'm here in the studio.
Hi, this is Patti Fink and you're listening to...
Well, that introduced
Clint.
it for you.
Clint.
I can do that live. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on KNON 89.3 FM.
And that's the late Patti Fink. I'm here also with Lerone Landis. Our first guest today is Lisa Geduldig. She's one of the people in San Francisco organizing the response to the San Francisco Pride's rescinding of Bradley Manning as Grand Marshal of the parade, their Pride Parade, and she's doing PR for the debacle. Normally, she's a comedian and comedy producer, except when things like this piss her off. Lisa, are you there?
I am here. Good morning.
How are you, Lisa?
I'm just waking up, thank you. How are you?
That's right, they're 2 hours behind
So did we.
Yeah,
Is Joey Cain on the line?
He is not.
Oh.
He is not
Okay.
yet. During our break at 20 after, if he doesn't call in, you call him, and then he can call us in. Anyway, Joey Cain, who's supposed to be with us also, he was president of the San Francisco Pride Board for 4 years. He's a former Grand Marshal and part of the Electoral College of Grand Marshals who nominated Bradley Manning. First of all, Lisa, tell us about Bradley Manning, who he is, for anybody who doesn't know.
Right.
He's an openly gay member of the military who released a bunch of documents showing different wonderful activities by the U.S. government in Iraq and Afghanistan, and he has been in military prison for 3 years, treated not so nicely. One could use the word torture, sleep deprivation, having to stand naked, etc. And his trial has just begun a week ago, and it's going to last up to 12 weeks. And the goal of the military is to prove that he aided the enemy, which will have him be in prison for life. And he is saying that he worked off of his conscience, that he needed to bring to the public what he had seen in these different documents. So he's being seen either as a hero or a traitor, depending on how you see things. And since he's openly gay, he's been embraced as well by a lot of gay progressives. And as you said, Joey had nominated him to be a Grand Marshal of the San Francisco Gay Pride Parade on June 30th, and that went through, and the Pride Committee, the Pride Board okayed it, and then a couple of days later, probably due to pressure by Sean Sala and some other gay military vets, they rescinded their naming of him as a Grand Marshal. So since the end of April, we've been doing protests and press conferences and meetings and trying to get them to reinstate him, and that has not worked. But what has worked is that there's been more information about Bradley Manning, and more people in the queer community know who he is. So it's been a blessing in disguise in a way.
And it sometimes works that way when, when you create this controversy, it'll just make the person, it'll just bring more information to the person's cause.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess it's not a requirement to actually be there for a grand marshal.
Right, the grand marshal, he will not be there.
It would be an absentia regardless. But who will be there is 1971 Pentagon Papers whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg, who is 82, lives in the San Francisco Bay Area, is not LGBT, but will be marching for the first time in the parade here. Potentially in his spiffy red convertible. We have a very, very large Bradley Manning support network contingent, and there's going to be hundreds of people in that, or people from all different organizations. Ellsberg, I wanted to note also, practically any time he's been speaking about Bradley Manning, and he's very involved in his case, he brings up the issue of San Francisco pride, which is, I think, phenomenal that he talks about that wherever he goes.
Could you share with our listeners who Daniel Ellsberg is? Because some of us are old enough to remember and understand who he was.
Yeah, and Laron's not, so shut up, Lerone.
Okay, well, you're older than me, so why don't you share?
Okay, Daniel Ellsberg, who I met for the first time in Crawford, at the Peace House in Crawford, outside the Bush Fake House. Daniel Ellsberg released some papers that got to be known as the Pentagon Papers, which showed the fraud that led up to the Vietnam War, the escalation of the Vietnam War, basically. So, yeah. So
he was a fellow leaker.
He was a fellow leaker, yes.
Yeah.
He was.
And
he was.
I believe he didn't spend time in jail, but he was. They wanted to put him in jail for life, and he was seen as a hero by some, as a traitor by others. So he very much identifies with Bradley, even though Ellsberg was a military analyst. He wasn't actually in the military, like Manning is.
Like Manning is, right. Go ahead.
What? I don't know how closely you're following the legality of this case, but what are the chances that he will not be found guilty? Do you think, anyway?
Well, I think that Obama actually already said he was guilty before the trial started. A journalist pulled him aside at an event in San Francisco about a year or so ago and asked him, and he said he was guilty. So guilty, Manning has said, "I'm guilty," but whether or not he is going to be proven guilty of aiding the enemy is another thing. I don't know. It's like, do you have a coin? I think the trial in a lot of ways is theater.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's a military trial, and I have no faith in those. Sorry,
Well,
I
do
just
you think
don't.
he's going to be charged, sentenced to life because of aiding the enemy?
Yes.
I think he is.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to make an example of him. Remember John Walker Lind, the Marin Taliban kid?
Mm-hmm.
Obama is prosecuting many more whistleblowers than
any
of our
other president. Yeah.
So, they're not going to let him off. They need to make an example of him, and hopefully this poor young kid is not going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Are you hearing anything? Where is he from originally? He's not from out there, is he?
No. I believe somewhere in the Midwest.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's not like out there you have some connection to his family or anything. To hear. Yeah.
No, but there's a very active Bradley Manning support network based out of here. There's a 20-something-year-old man named Michael Thurman who was in the Air Force, and he became a conscientious objector. Mm-hmm. And this woman, Rainey Reitman, who is involved in digital activism, the electronic, I forget the name of the organization, Electronic Something Frontier, and she's also based here, and they both attended the beginning of the trial, and they're very active and outspoken, and
Well, and that's interesting that they're even allowing people to attend the trial.
Yeah, I think there were 350 journalists who applied for 70 spaces. Don't quote me, but I think those are the numbers. And then there was something like 17 people from the public who were allowed. So, and then there's a lot of testimony that's going to be in private.
Right, because when it's whistleblowers, they use the excuse that this is classified information, we can't discuss it in front of the public, and so the trial goes private.
Right. I think the whole thing should just be on Facebook. It's much easier.
Well, it doesn't involve cats, kittens, and puppies, so I probably not.
And then you can just like or not like.
You can't like, right.
And if you find out more, you can go back and unlike.
Oh, I just wanted to do a shout out to the NSA. I always have to do that on every phone call and Facebook and email the last week or so. Hi, NSA.
You think you're being followed on this one? You know, there was.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I was just a comedian before the end of April. Now I think every time Manning ends up in one of my emails, that.
Well, if they pledge, we would welcome them. If they send in a pledge, we'll take them as a listener, right?
It was interesting.
NSA is no strings attached, isn't it?
I thought it was. I don't know.
Well, even in the personal ads, that's what NSA means, no strings attached.
We were talking about this in the last hour. There was an editorial in the Washington Post today about Snowden. And Snowden has elicited, again, absolutely no response from the liberal community. It's almost as if we're saying, well, one of our guys is in the White House, so everything he does is okay. It's okay that you're taking away civil liberties. A bill to limit the what the NSA can do was filed, but it was filed by Rand Paul, and he filed it without any co-sponsors. There was a press conference about it, and 5 members of Congress showed up along with Rand Paul. They were all Republicans. Where's the liberal outrage? Your senator out there, you know, we've been having fun making fun of our stupid. Your senator, Miss Feinstein.
Oh, only when she misbehaves.
Your senator. What is she thinking? I mean, it's as if there's no oversight whatsoever. Yeah.
Well, I think that since people are feeling like, oh, my email and my Facebook and my phone are being tapped, that people are a little bit more, oh, God, I'm sorry. I've just woken up. I can't think. They're a little bit more in favor, I think, of Snowden than Manning, because, you know, Manning is, you know, people just see him as a traitor. He took the oath, soldier's oath, blah, 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 blah. And with Snowden, it's like, this is really hitting home for people. So I'm finding that...
But aren't they the same thing?
That's what I was thinking.
You know, one of them is all the misdeeds done in the Iraq War and in the Afghan War. I don't remember ever being for those wars when George Bush was in office. I think the only thing I remember is being against them when Obama didn't get out of those wars fast enough. Why all of a sudden should I be in favor of not releasing all of the criminal stuff that went on going up to them? Now, same thing with...
Well, that's you. You know, everyday people who are, you know, a little bit more brainwashed, you know, like just think, okay, you know, he's a traitor for doing this. But what, my email, you know, it's come down to me now. I'm being followed. Okay, now I'm going to show a little bit more concern and interest in what's going on. That's what I think when it comes down to suddenly, you know, it's not something that you can't relate to. You know, I'm not in the military. This is, you know, this is, you know, some military secrets, and we have to, you know, protect ourselves against terrorism, blah, 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 blah. But this is my email. You know, I just think that it comes down to the more personal that people are.
Well, it's even more than that. Now it's your phone calls.
Right.
Not our radio show, because, you know, this is the obvious place to discuss these guys. I don't think they're listening to our radio show. And if they are, Clint just got our ratings of everything on KNON.
I just want to say that I love the NSA, and I love
we do too.
US government.
Well, we do too. We love the additional ratings we're getting here. Our time slot, along with the couple hours before us, number one on this station.
Sweet.
Awesome. It is.
Number one on this station. And maybe it's because of all of the listening that's being done in Washington.
Maybe they are pledging.
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm going to quickly call Joey on the other line, okay?
Okay, you call Joey. I know you have to go at the end of this segment, Lisa.
Okay.
And, you call him. If we don't get you back on, I'll see you in 2 weeks in Winnipeg.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, NSA.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.
I think this is a really interesting thing. It's just one of those things that it's just kind of the guy happens to be gay, which is what makes it a gay issue.
Yeah.
I think most people who are even thinking about this issue aren't thinking about it as a gay issue at all. But it's interesting that they named him as a grand marshal. Now we're having the same sort of a grand marshal problem here.
Well, not really a grand marshal. I don't know.
Just an invitation.
Just an invitation. There is a rumbling in the community here in Dallas about disinviting the mayor from riding in the Pride Parade, and of course our parade is in September.
Right. Now, for people who don't live in Dallas, because lots of people, if you live in Farmers Branch, you're not necessarily following what's going on in Dallas. What did the mayor do this week?
Well, it's not just this week. It's
I was going to say
a series of things since he's been
Right.
in office. But primarily he had, at the Conference of Mayors over a year ago, was asked to sign, along with 800 mayors, a pledge to support marriage equality for the Freedom to Marry group. And he refused to do so. And he's the only major top 10 city mayor in the country that didn't sign. Everybody else has signed. And had he signed it at the time, it would have been about, page 11 in The Voice, and it would have been over, and nobody would have talked about it again.
It would have been Mayor Rawlings signs with all the other top 10 mayors.
Right. And the top 100, and the top, lots of them there. And so he didn't sign that, and so many in our community, spoke out and said, what's going on here? And a whole movement's sort of begun to haunt him at every step, to try to get him to change his mind and do the right thing and sign this and join this coalition of mayors across the country. And he hadn't done that. And the thing that happened at City Hall this last week is a melange of many different moving parts. But fundamentally, he had an opportunity to put the resolution for marriage equality on the agenda. He has the power to do so without anybody else, and he has refused to do so. And so there were movements to work around him, and that failed as well. So there's talk now to disinvite him from the parade.
And what the parade committee is saying is we're non-political. They just tell us that they're going to show up.
Right.
So we have nothing to do with that at all.
And Mayor Laura Miller started the tradition of being in every parade.
Right.
And so mayors since then have shown or not shown, but they've been invited. And city council members ride in the parade. So it's a tradition that's long
Well, and
before
this week, we'll talk about this toward the end of the show again, but this week at City Hall, there was a complete meltdown between the city council and the gay community.
Yeah.
It was really, it was entertaining. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink, and we'll be back with more right after this.
In Dallas, local partners and national nonprofit Connect to Compete have made available for residents digital skills training classes. Classes include basic internet searching, internet basics, computer basics, and more. Local residents are also eligible for programs that provide assistance for internet service and computers. For more information on internet classes at local libraries, their phone number is 1-855-387-9166 or on the web at everyoneon.org. This program is in partnership with Dallas Area Libraries, Connect to Compete, and the Ad Council.
When they're gone for good. This is Scott from Knon's Texas Blues Radio telling you don't miss out on some great blues. Knon's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. It's a CD put together by real blues fans for real blues fans like you. Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 features great local blues from Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, JJ and the Detonators, the Chris Watson Band, the Two Tones, Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, Dave Millsap, Sirloin and the Ass Kicking Machine, Tutu Jones, Blues Boy Bo, Buddy Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, and Johnny Red and the Roosters. Get a copy now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records. This is a Dallas Blues collector's item. A very limited amount of vinyl copies can be found at Forever Young Records, the sponsor of this great blues project. CD downloads are available at cdbaby.com. Whether you get it as a download, on vinyl, or on CD, all the proceeds will benefit KNON. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org.
Hi, I'm Actor from UT Dallas, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink, and our guests are Lisa Geduldig. She's a comedian, a comedy producer, and she's pissed off. And our other guest is Joey Cain. He's from the San Francisco Pride Board, and he's a former Grand Marshal of the San Francisco Pride Parade, part of the Electoral College of Grand Marshals who nominated Bradley Manning. You there, Joey?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. And I should clarify, I'm a former board member. Pride Board president. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not on the board now.
Not on the board now, because if you were, you would have been, well, if you were, you wouldn't be now.
This would have been a very different
He would have been protesting himself.
I've done that before, though. Both sides of the issue, and you just protest yourself. So where does this go from here?
Well, we are organizing to have a major contingent in the San Francisco Pride Parade this year, June 30th. We're inviting all of our straight allies to join us. We're hoping to have 300 to 500 folks marching in support of Bradley Manning. We're also encouraging people around the United States to join the Bradley Manning contingents in their local LGBTQ parades as well. In terms of the San Francisco Pride Board, we're also organizing, we're encouraging people to become members of Pride, and in September there is something called an annual general membership meeting, and we're going to hold the board accountable for this decision that they made.
I have a quick question, and just for our listeners who may not really understand the long history of the San Francisco Pride Parade. I remember like 10 years ago purchasing a tape of the San Francisco Pride Parade because it's broadcast on television live.
Right.
And that's not done. I mean, we just don't see that many places in the country at all.
The only place that has ever broadcast our parade is us.
Right.
When we used to be on during the parade.
Right.
That's
exactly.
right. That's correct.
But how is? I mean, it has this like kind of mythical quality about it that for us outside of San Francisco and outside of California, kind of the San Francisco, the mothership, of Pride parades, and you have this very structured way of dealing with stuff. I mean, there's references in your press releases to this electoral college, and can you explain something to our listeners about how a decision is made about who will be Grand Marshal?
Sure, yeah. There's, again, I always sort of compare it to the Venetian government in the 1400s. It's an elaborate process. So there's community grand marshals, there are celebrity grand marshals, and then there's even a lifetime achievement grand marshal. There's also a pink brick award, which is given to someone who's done damage to the community.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes, and I mean,
I'm suggesting that to ours.
I'll get into that a little bit later, because there was someone else who once won the pink brick, and it was even more controversial than Bradley Manning, but we kept that person as the pink brick recipient. So one community grand marshal is chosen by the whole community of San Francisco voting. A group of people get nominated, and then polling places are set up around the cities, different events, different bars, different centers. Another community grand marshal is chosen by the membership of Pride voting, and then another community grand marshal is chosen by everybody who's a former community grand marshal. And that's at this electoral colleges that I'm part of because I'm a former grand marshal.
Got it.
Well, that's pretty nice. You spread the love. There's just not one Grand Marshal.
Well, it was spreading the love, but we also, and it was while I was on the board in the late 90s and early 2000s, we also want those Grand Marshals to represent the diversity of the community. And so by having all the former Grand Marshals vote, by having the membership vote, and then the board can also appoint up to 3 Grand Marshals, we're making sure that the diversity of the community is represented. Because quite honestly, often it's always a well-known white person who wins the wider community vote. And so in order to, as I said, make sure the whole diversity is represented, we instituted these different ways of selecting Grand Marshals. Community Grand Marshals.
Now, I love the Pink Brick Award.
So
we need one for our mayor this year.
I'm hearing that. Listening to your show. Yeah, you do. Well, about, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Again, this is the nominees are admitted or nominated by the community, and about, I think it was 8 years ago now, the person who won the Pink Brick Award was Senator Dianne Feinstein, our former mayor, and it was because it was after our then Mayor Gavin Newsom started the gay marriage thing. Feinstein came out and said that it was too much, too fast, too soon, which has always been Diane's chant, quite honestly, from back in the 70s when she was vetoing gay rights legislation here in San Francisco. She's always been about not going too fast. And so she won the Pink Brick Award, and the same year, the person who won the community vote for Community Grand Marshal was Ambassador James Hormel. And Ambassador Hormel was a close friend of Dianne Feinstein. And so there was some, issue around that. But to his credit, the ambassador realized this is a community decision. The community is diverse. He did not step down as Grand Marshal. Now, we got a huge amount of blowback, as you can probably imagine, from people over Feinstein being the Pink Brick recipient, and we did not back down. And the parade went forward, and, no one died. And, it showed the integrity that the San Francisco Pride Committee at least had up until recently.
See, that's the thing. If our mayor signed the marriage pledge, I think he's afraid some people will die.
Maybe so. I'm kind of curious, what happens in the parade itself when, everybody starts marching? What is there a pink brick carriage or a car?
Actually what it is we generally use the Pink Brick Award as a way of organizing. Now, usually it's nutcase fundamentalist Christians, or I think it's the Boy Scouts this year, weirdly enough.
Good. I've spent lots of time over at the Boy Scout headquarters over the last year or so.
Yes.
Which is because the Boy Scout headquarters are right here outside of Dallas.
Well, so the Pink Brick Award is kind of used to raise awareness about these people, and then to organize, whether it's sending letters, whether it's calling people. It's used as an organizing tool.
So the pink brick doesn't appear in the parade?
We used to actually have a giant pink brick. I don't know if it's still there.
I mean, this year you could have Boy Scouts march.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we could give the Pride Board the Pink Brick.
Right.
Ooh.
That would be...
Back when Halle Berry won the Academy Award, she made history, as the first black woman to win it for Best Actress. Well, the very next year, she won a Razzie Award for Worst Actress, and she made history as the first recipient to show up to take it. So she took it. And so has anybody ever shown up to take the Pink Brick Award?
No, actually they haven't.
Are they welcome to?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. We always send them a letter of, this is your award. You're welcome to come and pick it up. And There's a pride brunch that takes place on the Saturday the day before that's put on as a fundraiser for a local AIDS organization, and they're always invited to come to the brunch, but strangely enough, no one has taken
You know, if Dianne Feinstein, for example, if she had enough of a sense of humor.
Oh, please.
I said if, and actually, when I talk about your senator, I'm comparing her to our new senator, Ted Cruz. So, you know.
Yes. I'm everything.
If she had a sense of humor, I'd hire her for my comedy show.
Well, if she did, she would show up, and you know what? It would be the best thing she could do to get votes. Showing that she had a sense of humor about it and that she wasn't offended by it would be the best thing she could ever do. Because a whole bunch of gay people vote for her.
Oh, of course they do. Of course they do.
You know, who else are you going to vote for in those races?
Well, that's also true.
And is the Pink Brick Award limited to just Californians?
Oh, no. It's usually national, quite honestly.
Okay.
The recipient. Yeah.
So I'm assuming.
So yes, Lerone, you could be nominated.
Okay. So I'm assuming one year the recipient was George Bush.
Was whom?
George Bush.
Who?
You know, probably.
He used to be a president, Lisa.
I'm old. I can't quite remember who the recipients were for every year. I just can't remember every year.
You can see how we're fascinated by whole Pink Brick.
We love this. We love it. You see, one of the things about your parade that's so different and that sounds so refreshing to us, ours is corporate run.
Yeah.
Literally, a group of corporations put it on.
Seriously, is it a for-profit event?
No, it's put on by the Dallas Tavern Guild, which is
they own a bunch of bars.
It's the bar owners, and so it really is a company event.
You know what I think is really kind of exemplar of this is in Texas, you know, the city of Austin is known for its quirkiness and stuff, and they have a long-time slogan, "Keep Austin Weird." And in Dallas, there's a T-shirt that is $29. Get this: "Keep Dallas Pretentious."
Right.
It kind of says the whole corporate, world here in Dallas.
Well, we were talking about this in the last hour. Right now, Dallas officially has banned the use of the word assassination from the 50th anniversary. It's JFK at 50. Because 50 years ago this year, we had the year of unpleasantness here in Dallas.
Oh my!
So the use of the word assassination has officially been banned. So nobody will be using the word assassination except on stations like us.
I was about to say, well, that's what he was. He was assassinated.
No.
I guess
no.
It's much Southern to just say that unpleasantness.
Yes, it will be known as the period of unpleasantness. You will not be. They are closing Dealey Plaza for 2 weeks before the
unpleasantness
anniversary? Before the anniversary of the unpleasantness, and 2 weeks after, because
before his breath was taken away.
That was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Before somebody took his brains, but yeah, I mean they're trying to control the whole event because there are lots of conspiracy theory people who hang out in Dealey Plaza, and
of course,
and they sell information and souvenirs and stuff like that, and they don't want that to be the image that tourists see. But in the meantime, the tourists won't be able to get near the place.
But it's very Dallas. It's very,
yes.
we did national we did National Coming Out Day at the State Fair of Texas, which is a massive venue, and we were given Marine Corps Square, and we weren't allowed. This is like in the early 2000s. Weren't allowed to say that we were at the Marine Corps Square because we don't ask, don't tell. So we were told we could say other things about where we were. So we said just inside the Perry Gate, in front of the DAR house, across from the blah blah. I mean, we had this on our posters.
I mean, I've only visited Dallas once, I have to admit, and I was there for the Republican convention in 1984, and I actually found Dallas charming, but there were still things like the Church of the Subgenius, came from Dallas. Dallas does have a great history of strange and interesting things, besides the assassination or the unpleasantness.
He said the word, but he's from California, so it's okay. He can say it. He can say it. Yeah. Lisa, did you have to get going or not?
Yes, I do. But I just
do.
wanted to say that we're trying to bring politics back into the parade. You know, the origin of the parade, Pride, was, gay liberation, and now it's, there's a lot of corporate sponsorship. It's not run by corporations, but it might as well be. And, during the AIDS crisis, there was AIDS contingent after AIDS contingent, and now it's more of a big party. And, there's nothing wrong with the party, but we're trying to bring politics back in. So besides having a large Bradley Manning support network contingent, there's going to be hopefully representation throughout contingents all over the parade. So anyone who's watching the parade, watching it on TV, there's going to be a theme. So, so they can say, we're in charge and we're not reinstating him, but we've named him as our Grand Marshal, and we're just proceeding as such.
Do you guys ever, take a moment and say, what would Harvey do?
Well, actually, I'm an independent historian, and I curate exhibits at the San Francisco Library. I did a major exhibit on gay movement, modern gay movement founder Harry Hay last year, and I actually also helped raise money to put a bust of Harvey Milk into City Hall. And I'll tell you, both Harry Hay and Harvey Milk would be out there marching and supporting Bradley Manning.
Yeah, I believe they would.
There is absolutely no doubt about that. I mean, I don't know if Lisa mentioned this or not, but I came out in 1970. The basis of our whole movement and all of our political accomplishment is telling the truth, and we call that coming out.
Right.
It has always been about us telling the truth about who we are. And this is one of the reasons I nominated Bradley Manning, because he was telling the truth, and there is nothing more essential to the LGBT queer movement than telling the truth. And again, this is why what the Pride Board did is so reprehensible. That, they've essentially penalized someone for telling the truth. And Lisa probably covered it. It was the enlisted gay service people who got their panties in a bunch and flooded the Pride office with calls and emails, demanding that he be removed as Grand Marshal. And this is also the outrageous thing, that the San Francisco Pride Committee, the reason so many people around the world look to it is because we have embraced all of the diversity of the community, including all of our disagreements. And this year, the Pride Committee threw one part of the community under the bus, quite honestly, and that's what's so reprehensible. It's like people around the world are scratching their heads going, what?
Joey, stick with us.
I'd like to add something, and then I need to go.
And we need to take out a break. Lisa, go ahead. You can take.
Okay. I just want to say that gay vets are divided. We have local gay vets who are speaking at our speak-outs and protests and press conferences, and then this pressure came from outside of San Francisco for them to rescind the nomination.
Lisa, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, bye.
I'm looking forward to it. Joey, stick with us.
Okay.
Okay, and you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hi, this is Shrestek inviting you to my R&B Good Talk Party on Father's Day this Sunday, June the 16th at Port Davis Pub, starting George Stansdale, Cookie McKee, Jimmy Preacher Ellis, Sam Whitaker, and Chester Burns, featuring Jewel, for a Sunday evening of rhythm and blues guitar, including a free chicken dinner, courtesy of Henderson Chicken, Wyatt Lads, so get there early to eat. Tickets are available now at knon.org, Beer Records, and Forever Young. Port Davis, is located at 1313 South Lamar in Dallas, on the south side. Make this a Father's Day to remember with George Stansdale, Cookie McGee, Jimmy Preacher Ellis, Sam Whitaker, Chester Burns, featuring Jewel, and me, Shortstack, at my R&B guitar party this Sunday, June the 16th at Port Davis. This is a Knon benefit.
All this time, girl, I know that we can win.
GoodSearch.com provides a way for you to support nonprofits like Knon with your online shopping and dining. GoodSearch.com offers a downloadable toolbar for searching from your computer called Good App, so your purchases can go to support Knon. With Good Dining, every time you go out to eat at participating restaurants, then a portion of what you spend gets donated to Knon. Registering is easy at GoodSearch.com, and Knon 89.3 is the name to enter in your account settings for charity selection. Support Knon with your online shopping and dining at GoodSearch.com.
Knon is having a crawfish boil, and you're invited to join Jimbro of Monday Evening's Cajun Zydeco party for a Sunday evening of mudbugs and Zydeco music from the real deal JB and the Zydeco posse. Mango's Noodle House, sushi, and crawfish of Farmer's Branch will be boiling up the bugs. We're talking live, jumbo, purged, fresh crawfish served spicy or in their radioactive sauce with corn and potatoes. We guarantee once you try them, you'll crave them. Advance tickets are on sale now at knon.org for only $5, and we will be selling crawfish for $6 per pound, with all proceeds benefiting Knon. So save the date for Sunday, June 23rd at Poor David's Pub, located at 1313 South Lamar in Dallas. Doors are at 5 p.m., and Jimbro will be in the mix with Cajun and Zydeco music till JB hits the stage. So come on down to the Knon Crawfish Boil, featuring the music of JB and the Zydeco posse, with delicious live crawfish courtesy of Mango's Noodle House, Sushi, and Crawfish on Sunday, June 23rd at Poor David's Pub. This is a Knon benefit event.
This is William. I listen to Lambda Weekly at 11 a.m. on Saturdays on KN1 89.3 FM.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet. I'm here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink. Our guest is Joey Cain, who was the president of the San Francisco Pride Board for 4 years. He's a former Grand Marshal and part of the Electoral College of Grand Marshals, who nominated Bradley Manning as a Grand Marshal this year, and there's the controversy. Joey, when is your Pride this year?
The parade is on June 30th.
June 30th, okay.
So last Sunday of the month.
And we do things unlike everybody else. Ours is in September, so
it's probably
whole other reasons.
Not as hot and as unbearable in September
right.
as it is in June.
That is part of the reason.
That was one of the reasons. Several other prides. Fort Worth is in October. Austin moved to September because
Houston's
of that.
is at 9.
And Houston and San Antonio do theirs at night because of the heat.
Yeah. I mean, we when I was on the board, we talked about the possibility of doing a night parade, but San Francisco in June, usually the fog rolls in by about 3 or 4 o'clock, and it's freezing and cold at night.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, just like here.
We don't have that problem.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Right.
We would so welcome that.
It's 100. We've had pride parades where it's been 112 upward.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
15,
Well, I remember when I was there in '84 for the Republican National Convention, we were actually camping is it the Trinity River?
Yes.
In the riverbed, and it was 110 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and it was my first experience with red ants, I believe.
Ooh.
They had the ability to eat through the plastic of the tent.
Fire ants, yeah.
Is that it? Fire ants. Yeah.
Well, Joey, as Patti mentioned earlier, she talked about the legendary parades that San Francisco puts on. Have you been to other cities that are
that do crappy parades like ours? Is that your question?
Somewhat impressive, that have impressed you?
Oh well, I used to go to the parade in Montreal. Canada has great pride parades. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I actually went back to
Albany
parade.
Oh,
you're from Albany?
Yeah, you and David are New Yorkers.
Albany, I went to school in Albany. Actually, I'm from downstate, but I went to school in Albany, and my school is also the school of
Harvey Milk.
Harvey Milk, thank you. I'm blanking.
Really?
Yeah, Harvey went to Albany. Yeah. And after he graduated, where did he move? He moved to Dallas. Lived here for 6 months before moving out to California. So we do have that connection with him.
What would Harvey do? He would move to California.
He would.
Well, you know,
Yeah, he'd move
New
to
York for a long time.
Move to Dallas, and he'd say, yeah. So,
yeah.
Let's go back to Bradley Manning for just a little bit. These protests that are going on, because it's not just your parade now, it's spread to several other parades. Do you think, and we talked about this with Lisa a little bit, do you think these protests will make a difference in the trial? Do you think he'll get a fair trial?
I think it's very hard for him to get a fair trial. I mean, you know, let's face it, it's a military court, and what was that line? Military justice is to justice what military music is to music. I really doubt I mean, they've already, you know, they've not allowed the vast majority of the defense witnesses to come in. Manning has admitted that he released this stuff.
Right.
The issue now that he's on trial for is the charge of treason. And, you know, it's absolutely apparent that unlike the national media or the military's attempt to portray him as some, you know, gender-confused, you know, semi-crazed person who just dumped all this stuff, Bradley Manning is actually an incredibly intelligent kid and did go through and selectively release stuff. And he states over and over again he was doing it because he felt the public needs to know this information in order to make informed decisions about who they elect and in order to decide whether or not they want to continue a war.
I was going to say, have any of you all seen him lately? He looks awful. It looks awful.
You want to know something? We have a number of people who were here, who were there for the first week of the trial, and including Rainey Reitman. She's one of the founders of the Bradley Manning Support Network. She was there for the first week of the trial, and she said in person he didn't look as bad as he looked in the photos.
Oh, okay, because on the photos, it just looked like he's lost about 20, 30 pounds. And really pale, like, you know, are they starving a kid in prison?
Right, yeah. I'm sorry, what was that?
No, he said, are they starving him in prison?
Not starving. I mean, you know, he did go through, you know, months of essentially what Amnesty International and even the UN report on torture stated were torture conditions. But the folks who were there said he actually looked good when you saw him in person in the court. And that the photos were really strange, how wispy and, you know, pale he looked.
Well, and they can do that with photos. I always take photos of my co-hosts and make them look like crap because it makes me look better. So,
if you could take
the miracle of digital.
If you could make my tatas perkier, that would be great.
I will do that next time.
Okay.
I had never thought about that because Lerone always wanted his tatas to look better.
Just saying.
Okay. So, Go ahead. Joey.
Joey's probably going, what the?
I freaked Lerone out. It's okay.
Oh, boy.
So, Joey, tell us a little bit more about the parade. First of all, how long has your parade been going on?
It started in 1970, 71. It's kind of the original. It's kind of lost in history. The first event was actually, I think it was called a Cain in Golden Gate Park. I'm not even sure. No one's even quite sure if there was a march in 1970, which of course was the first year that there was something in New York and I believe in Los Angeles. But by 71 there was a march. I think by 72 there was a split in the community, so there were two different marches on two different routes. You know, it's continuously grown since 1970 to where there's been up to 1 million folks who are here for the parade. They don't all march in the parade, but they're here for the parade and the celebration, because after the parade there's a giant, still free event where there's upwards of 17 different stages, community and music stages. There's a Radical Fairy Freedom Village that's been going on for about 10 years now. And a lot of different venues, a Soul of Pride, African-American venue, and various things. So it's, and also here, Pride, literally the whole month of June is just packed with stuff going on. There's the Frameline Festival that happens. There's something now called Fatopia, which is done by Radical Fairies, and this thing called the Fayboy Collective and the Calamus Fellowship, which is a week of radical queer cultural events put on in a space. And so the whole month of June is sort of really Gay Pride Month, and it's really hard to book an event or put on an event in June because there's so much other stuff going on.
Joey, where does the Pride take place? Is it in downtown San Francisco, or is it go through Castro?
The parade marches from the foot of Market Street, which is down near where the Ferry Building is, and ends up in the Civic Center. So down the main, Market Street is the main street of San Francisco.
So it doesn't go down any hills?
No, it's flat.
It is flat.
It is flat.
You mean there's a flat area in San Francisco?
Yeah. Well, going around the edge.
The queens in heels just can't do hills.
Right.
It's just too hard.
That's what I was wondering.
The wig and the heels and, the whole outfit.
You have to wonder which one's more cruel, uphill or downhill.
Right.
Now, I have a question, and this is a strategic question. Do your other cities in the area, like Oakland, do they do pride parades?
They have, yes, they have a pride celebration. A lot of the cities around San Jose has one. Santa Cruz has a big one down there. So, yeah, they, of course, don't do it the same weekend.
Now, and the reason, here's why I'm asking, and ours are all on different weekends, too, but our Pride Parade, we're a bigger city than you are. We're the ninth biggest city in the country. We're the fourth largest metropolitan area in the country. And our Pride Parade is stuck at not big. I mean, it's big. There are probably 30,000, 40,000 people who come, but it's not huge. You have in the hundreds of thousands that participate.
We literally have upwards of 1 million people.
Okay. And what we've noticed is our Pride Parade, 3 weeks later, Fort Worth has their Pride Parade. In June, Plano, which is the fourth largest city in the metropolitan area, Plano just had their Pride celebration a couple of weeks ago. And I was wondering if our Pride is not growing because we're fractured and, they have one, they have one, they have one. Denton did their Pride Parade last week or this coming week. And I was just wondering if you had in your area other pride parades, but you do. So that's not hurting yours.
It's not hurting ours. And, okay, I don't want to sound smug or snooty, but, it's San Francisco, so we're probably going to get more tourists who travel here.
Right.
I mean, it's a major tourist event. Most of the hotels are fully booked during the Pride celebration.
Right, and I'm not asking because we should have something the same size as San Francisco, but I know everybody who puts on our parade would like to see it grow from 30,000, 40,000 to 100,000. That's not that much to ask out of an area that has over 6 million people in the area.
Yeah.
And this is a tourist destination for people from Oklahoma, from Louisiana, from from East Texas, West Texas. It really does draw. You would think we'd have more people at our Pride celebration. You would just think.
You would think.
So,
there's been an interesting development here. Pride, at least until about 5 or 6 years ago, used to do surveys. Random surveys. We had a professional group come in and do them and stuff. There's a tremendous number of straight folks who come to the Pride celebration here in San Francisco.
Oh, ours too.
Especially local. I mean, it's the big event.
And they invite their friends, I'm sure. Come down,
and they
we'll
invite
go
their friends, and I mean, again, weirdly enough, I think it's going to be with the internet and with the social, virtual, the virtual world. I think it's going to be harder in the future to get people to come out to actual public events. I don't think it's going to be easier.
Well, speaking of, is there a way for us to watch the San Francisco Pride Parade
something
online?
Honestly, I don't know. I believe there is an online presentation of it. But, folks can go to the sfpride.org website and get that sort of information. I mean, I'm not really except for the Bradley Manning brouhaha. I don't work on the Pride celebration anymore. Yeah. Although I am on their community advisory committee, I think, unless they've kicked me off by now. But
we'd invite you to come work on ours, but you don't work for one of the companies that puts it on.
You're not pretentious enough, let's face it.
Hey, I'd love to open a bar in Dallas. But,
and we'd love you to come, and they would allow you to pay the fee to join the Tavern Guild.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say these things. We're trying to get them as sponsors.
Yeah. I mean, that's also an issue here in San Francisco, sponsorship. And I'm not as critical as other people are of the sponsors because, quite honestly, this event would not be happening.
Oh, exactly. And I don't mean to make fun of it either. These events cost money to put on. It costs a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money. We no longer live in a culture that values these public events enough that we tax the rich in order for local governments to pay for events like this.
Little things that we used to do ourselves, like hauling the trash to the dumpsters. I don't know how many bags of trash I hauled in Lee Park. You can't do that anymore. City ordinances, you have to hire professional trash.
Exactly that.
$20,000.
Exactly
sorry, right there.
No, that's funny because one of the big bills here is the trash bill from the local trash folks. And the city of San Francisco, through one of their funding things, gives the parade $56,000 a year, but the fees and permits are $200,000.
Right.
City fees and permits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Joey, we are completely out of time. I want to thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast talking to you.
Thanks, Joey. Come again.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on, and
and we'll watch for you making a lot of noise about Bradley Manning.
Great.
Awesome.
And that brings us to the end of another Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis and the late Patti Fink. We'll be back next week with more.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.